So you want to be a tattoo artist, part 3, licensure. Yes, you need to be licensed to become a professional. Now I don't know what state you're in, but each individual state has some form of it. But let's use New Mexico because, well, that's the state I'm in right now. So in New Mexico, you require an apprentice license. But to achieve that apprentice license, you have to go through a relationship with somebody that they have to get a sponsor license. Now, they is your mentor, the person that's going to potentially teach you how to learn how to tattoo. In New Mexico, they require at least 5 years experience with no disciplinary action against their license. Now, from personal experience and my personal opinion, I believe you should seek out somebody with 10 plus years experience. Honestly, you want somebody who's had those life experiences that they're going to be able to apply to your education. But in New Mexico, minimum of 5 years. That sponsor has to submit a curriculum that has to be approved by the state before they can issue the sponsor and apprentice license. The state needs to know what you're going to be taught. Now, what should you learn in a tattoo apprenticeship? Now, we've already talked about sweeping and mopping and dealing with the grunt work. Now, surprisingly, that was some foundational education that has taught you a lot about customer service, taught you about the day-to-day operations of a tattoo shop, and probably taught you about how to sterilize and disinfect certain areas or certain elements of a tattoo studio. But there are other stuff that is vitally important to building a strong foundation as a tattoo artist. Now, you should have a curriculum that should start you off at the history of tattooing. Now, something I don't see a lot of tattoo artists really rummaging through and looking back to is the history of. Looking not only to our immediate predecessors, our forefathers that shoulders we're standing on right now, but beyond that, where tattooing originated. Now, we don't have any sort of definite, records of tattooing, but we do have some discoveries of ancient tattooing, like on a peat bog mummy about 5400 BC. This man had over 58 tattoos on his body. Now, they were in places of acupuncture. So that led researchers to believe that, hey, okay, if this dude already had 58 tattoos in very specific places, well, they must have been using it for medicinal purposes. They were probably putting the tattoos over a place that a medicine man or woman could, apply acupuncture and assuage pain or something. So tattooing must have been even older than that. Tattooing predates written history. And throughout every culture, there's been some form of body modification, whether it be tattooing or piercing or scarification. We use it as a rite of passage. It was a sign of prestige. But you should also learn about the other elements in our history that, like in Asia in the 400s or so, tattooing was a mark of a criminal it was basically a bad thing to get tattooed. And you should learn how that played into the Yakuza eventually. So the history of tattooing should definitely be the first thing that you're learning in your licensed apprenticeship. Now, what after that? Well, make sure you've subscribed, ring that bell, make some comments below, and we'll talk about what's after history in your curriculum next.